This is Egypt. Complete desert. Seriously, like, how come people can build a civilization in this old desert place? That's because of River Nile. Something weird about River Nile. Actually, River Nile comes from East Africa, and it's the only river on earth that goes from south to north. All rivers in the world, they go from east to west, or west to east, or northwest to northeast. They just go this way. Not River Nile. River Nile goes from south up to Egypt, up to Mediterranean Sea. From Ethiopia, Kenya, in East Africa to Mediterranean Sea. So, assuming that people moved from Mesopotamia to Middle East, so these like Semitic tribes, can be reasonable. People moving from North Africa to Egypt can be fine. Moving from Africa, Black Africa, to Egypt, also fine. But there is another theory that ancient Egyptians, they're like extinct race that they don't exist anymore. For many reasons. It can be because, everybody conquered Egypt, so they mixed with all around, the world at the time. Or because the Egyptian, they were like marrying each other, marrying siblings. A king can marry his own daughter, things like this. So actually they killed themselves. Yeah, well, if you see like mummified bodies later, like King Tut, he had problems everywhere in his body. Because his father and his mother, they were brothers and sisters. So. Okay, well.
It's just too much.
I've tried, but it's not the best. Anyway, so, that's good. All right. I myself personally believe, yes, ancient Egyptians, they're extinct. Like, there are no more Egyptians, like native Egyptians on earth now. They just killed themselves. So why Egypt? There's something nice about Egypt, especially in the United States. Everybody knows kings. If I ask you about any name, about any king's name, Assyrian name, would you know any name of the Assyrians? It's hard to know, like everybody knows mostly 2 or 3 names of Egyptian kings. Well, Egypt is the first state in the world. Maybe not the oldest civilization, because in Mesopotamia they're like older than Egypt, but Egypt, they had states, constitution, and institution, king, kingship, army, and they even have government seals. Like maybe 7,000 years ago. So Egypt is interesting. There's another reason, of course, because Egypt was like the United States of ancient world. The super rich, superpower, place where all immigrants want to go to Egypt, or all people around the world. Well, read your Bible. Abraham did, moved to Egypt. Joseph did. He was actually the vizier of Egypt, means the prime minister. Moses, he was prince of Egypt. And above all, Jesus. He lived in Egypt as a child for a while. So mostly people during that time, they want to go to Egypt maybe for more freedom, more welfare, maybe living the Egyptian dream at the time. So Egypt was like, once again, the United States of the ancient world. So that was like part of the why Egypt. And there's another reason, like we have a lot of archaeology because of weather. conditions in Egypt are incredibly boring. Seriously, it's dry weather, no tornadoes, of course no hurricanes, like nothing wrong with it. We don't have rain. We don't have emergency for weather conditions. We never close a library for bad weather. Like never. Living in Egypt, seriously, so boring. It's far than you even imagine. And River Nile, like floods every year at the same time. You can't expect when the River Nile will, bring all the water and rich soil from Ethiopia. And you're ready for it. There is nothing to be worried about. But if you live 5,000 years ago in Amazon, a bug would kill you. You don't have luxury or time to build a civilization. You want to keep yourself alive. But Egypt was like, oh my God, that's so boring. Wake up early and then check, irrigation system and whatever it is, and then you're free. Then the rest of the day. So let's build a pyramid. Let's bring all these lazy Egyptians to Giza Plateau and let's build a pyramid. They're too lazy. Let's find a job. Let's do something. And by the way, this do something what everybody knows now. Slaves did not build the pyramids. So Egyptian people built the pyramids. We know this for sure. And pyramids were because pyramids were built in 4th dynasty. Let me tell you something like that fast about Egypt. Egypt, we name 3 kingdoms of Egypt, 3 periods of time. The first kingdom, all kingdoms, they actually divided into dynasties. Okay, so the pyramids, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the longest standing 7 wonders of the world, the longest man-built building on earth for thousands of years, that Great Pyramid of Giza was built in the 4th dynasty. What engineering, what science, what studies did you really have? How this came from? We just built the Great Pyramid in 4th dynasty. That's why people think that aliens built pyramids. Because it was not so much knowledge.
4th dynasty, that'd be 1000 BC or?
Well, no. 3000.
3000?
Yeah. 2007.
I got a question though. But it's commonly said by the Egyptians and their own government that they didn't build the pyramids. They just moved in.
Well, that's a theory, but actually we found the city of Moses around the pyramid. So that
Giza Plateau. The Giza Plateau.
Yeah, we found archaeological proof that people lived and worked here, and we found they found booking system. Okay, and there was no money. They gave you food and beer for work. Beer was the most important drink in Egypt. Even kids drink beer. Yes, because you can drink water. Good water can easily get contaminated. So you need to put something with alcohol or something to kill the bacteria or whatever in water. So this liquid at the time was beer. So beer would save your life. Don't take it seriously. Yes, beer is a serious thing in ancient Egyptian time, but my joke for current days. All right. So there are 3 pillars on ancient Egypt. That's how ancient Egypt survived 3,150 years, almost. The divinity of the king. The king is divine. This is how a king can be legit, the legitimacy of the king, that the king is actually a mediator between gods and people. The king, after life, he or she will be, yes, she can be a king in Egypt. Amy will tell us why. Will be like, God and protect people and protect the Nile and protect people of Egypt. So the divinity of the king is the most important thing at the time. And the second is actually the belief. The ancient Egyptians, they really had strong belief. They believed like. Now we discuss this belief as mythology, but at that time it was like everything they know. The beliefs were like the most important thing. At the end of ancient Egyptian civilization, we'll talk about this later, the people who conquered Egypt started to disrespect ancient Egyptian beliefs, just to, really could conquer Egypt. Because for many times, like Oxus, there were Semitic tribes, Jewish and non-Jewish tribes, we're not sure, but they were sure that Oxus were Semitic tribes. When they conquered Egypt, they adopted Egyptian beliefs. This is how if you want to rule Egypt, you have to adopt their beliefs. Alexander the Great did the same. He adopted Egyptian beliefs. Like he was son of Ra, son of Amun-Ra later. So that was like how you control Egypt. And the third pillar of ancient Egypt is the river Nile. If something happened to any of the three, Egypt would collapse. And there are big three intermediate periods, like when Egypt went into dark ages, because one of these three pillars collapsed. Do you have something to add? You look like you have something. Okay. The hidden chamber of the pyramid. Well, when I say the pyramid, I mean the Great Pyramid of Giza, Khufu's pyramid, because we have 120 pyramids all around Egypt. So the pyramid is the great, biggest pyramid, is the pyramid of King Khufu. Well, in 2015 and 2017, actually French and Japanese scientists brought these big devices, and they were like scanning the pyramids all around, everywhere in the pyramid, and they discovered like empty space inside the pyramid. They used cosmic rays and X-rays and everything, and every time there is a big empty space, and it's almost like 98 feet long. That's like Boeing, big inside the pyramid. So what is it? Nobody knows. What's inside it? Nobody knows. So the French invented this nice robot that can be self-inflated, and it can be inserted in this empty chamber or void via tube, and then the robot will, send us data and make pictures and whatever. So they kept doing it and trying, and they went back to the pyramid and they inserted that tube, and then that tube, after the big stone, every stone is like 2 tons. It's a big pyramid. But anyway, they inserted the tube, and then the tube found another stone. So they kept inserting it, another stone. They couldn't get to that void inside the pyramid. If there is a void inside the pyramid, it's scientifically approved, but when we try to see it, it's not there. So we're not sure if it's like glitch in system, or maybe it's there, but it's too narrow, too long, but too narrow to get. If it's like this void is like built to relieve the stress on the you know, the chamber of the king inside the pyramid? Nobody knows, and there is no proof about the existence of this, not practical archaeological proof. We just have these X-rays, pictures, and that's it. We're still trying. Maybe we're gonna find it somewhere or sometime. And I have something here to show you that's very nice. This is a photo of River Nile, southern Egypt. It's so wide, and but if you, maybe you can't see, but green area all around the river, and then there, deserts. You can't see the desert there. This is what River Nile does to Egypt. Brings life, you know, soil, water, everything to Egypt, and just leave it there. And even River Nile is strong and crazy river in Africa. In Egypt, it's slow and nice. Just like, because this is like so lucky. We, the Egyptians, were so lucky to have the River Nile.
All these books are available for checkout after the program.
All right. And pharaohs. Believe it or not, we never had pharaohs in Egypt. Never. We had kings. Pharaoh is a name that nobody actually knows exactly. But Amy, she did her homework and she studied that Pharaoh word, and if you have.
Okay, so if you look up the word pharaoh in the dictionary now, it would say an ancient ruler of ancient Egypt. That's all it says, the ruler of ancient Egypt. So it doesn't specify if it's king or a queen, it doesn't really say anything. But in ancient times, what would the word mean to the ancient people? The word pharaoh is not even Egyptian. It's actually a Greek word. It's a Greek form of an Egyptian word. The Egyptian word is paro, which means the great house, and it's actually designating the royal residency. So this word actually is more of the house itself, like a physical place, rather than a person. And the word pharaoh wasn't even used, like you said. Like they didn't even use the word pharaoh until the beginning of the New Kingdom. And so this was, you know, for thousands and thousands of years, they never called them pharaoh. It was the king, and or your majesty, and to other royal rulers of other lands, they called the king brother, rather than, you know, the king or anything like that. So pharaoh is not even really a word that was associated with the king until way later on in history.
Thank you. Well, there are another theories about that pharaoh word. Well, some people think that the king's name is divine. You can't just say Ramses II like we say now. You're not allowed to say that. It's like he's the mediator between gods and Egyptian people. You just don't say his name. He's not like one of us. You know, he's Son of God, he's divine, he's great. You just don't say his name. There is another theory when pharaoh means the big house, and house in ancient civilization means kingdom. Well, house of David, the kingdom of David. Well, house means kingdom in ancient time in most of the cases. So people think like pharaoh means the great king of the, you know, of the king of the kingdom or something like that. But theories. Once again, this event is all about the unanswered question. We don't have definite answer about any of these questions. It's all about theories. Well, maybe you just not. I had short memory loss. Quite a short memory loss. Yes, who was the Scorpion King? Not Dwayne Johnson. For sure not Dwayne Johnson. Well, there is something always missing in ancient Egypt history. Well, the Egyptians did a great job writing their history. One of the Egyptian historians, Menthil, if you remember this name, he wrote he actually divided Egypt into dynasties and so on, so and so. But apparently it looks like Egypt just happened to be that. What happened before dynasties? Well, historians name it pre-dynastic period. What happened? What really happened? You always read everywhere like Narmer is the king who united Egypt, because Egypt was divided into North Kingdom and South Kingdom. And we had civil war, South against North. But in Egypt, South, they won the war. Because the South, they were the federals, and the North, they were the confederates. So the South actually in Egypt won the war, and they managed to unify Egypt under one crown. So that king named Narmer, or Menes, or Hur'ah, or maybe Scorpion King. And nobody knows for sure the name. But in theory, historians, they say the Scorpion King the first and Scorpion King the second, there were southern kings, pre-dynastic history. They don't want to, and they think that Menes or Narmer is the king who actually, like this civil war took a long time, and Narmer was like the last king who actually declared victory. So, how did they get their name? Scorpion? Because every time they draw that king or try to write his name, they just draw Scorpion. And Egyptian hieroglyphic is easy to read, believe it or not. It's just like emojis. Yeah, they're just like emojis. So when there's a king name inside a cartouche and the king is actually drawn as a scorpion, they name it Scorpion. So the Scorpion King is one of the big mysteries in pre-dynastic history. Or maybe he is Narmer, or maybe he's Menes, or maybe Menes and Narmer, they're the same person. Well, theories. It's all about theories. That's a good question. Hatshepsut. That's why women should rule the world. If we have more than one Hatshepsut. Well, Hatshepsut, she's a great queen. No, king. No, she was what? Do you know?
She was the king.
Alright, so let me switch to your presentation, because that's like really do you see? Don't worry, I am the computer guy. All right. You can check out this book. That's a great book. Seriously.
Okay, so we'll get back to Hatshepsut in a little while, because before her there were quite a few other female kings.
A little louder.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So there were quite a few other female kings that we think might have ruled as an actual king. So So this is Neopotep. She was the wife of Narmer, as he was just talking about, or Menes, who might be the same person. Either way, she's his wife. Now, they don't have any kind of proof, as in written proof, that she ruled as a king. They're basing it all on her funerary tomb. She had a massive tomb that was full of things that you would expect to find in a pharaoh or a king, in a king's tomb. So they believe, based on her tomb, that either she was Narmer's successor, or this tomb was just the tomb of a king that wasn't mentioned on all the official king's lists. After her, there was Merneptah. She is the queen of King Jet and the mother of King Den. She is mentioned on a surah, which is also, Neopotep was also. This is a clay tablet that mentioned the names of all of the royal family and its court before they started using the cartouche. So she's listed as being a king, but there's no proof. Anything else, there's no other proof. Again, her tomb was also huge and full of all kinds of kingly things. Petepheres the first was the mother of Khufu, the one that built the Great Pyramid. And her husband was Snefru. He was the very first king to build a true pyramid on the Giza Plateau, or anywhere in Egypt. There are other pyramids, like Saqqara, the Step Pyramid, is actually older than all of the ones at Giza. But they are the ones to build the very first true pyramids. She had so much influence over her son during his reign that she got her own. This is her pyramid. Now, at the Giza Plateau, there's not just the pyramids there. There are actually 6 pyramids. There's 3 big ones, and then there's the 3 queens' pyramids. And so she has this one, or the one at the very far over there. That one's hers. There's also other things there, like there's the Sphinx, which was later on, as well as tombs for the builders, which is something that he was talking about earlier, that they weren't built by aliens. So she had a huge influence over her son. So this is how we are thinking that she might have ruled as a pharaoh, because she has her own pyramid. Nitocris, she has a pretty interesting story. She's mentioned on all of the king's lists, and she is mentioned by the Greek historian Herodotus. Her story is that her husband was murdered, and to take revenge on his death, she had a massive chamber built, and once it was done, she invited all of the noblemen who killed her husband over for a banquet, and then she opened the floodgates that were connected to the Nile, and she killed everybody. So, this is the only story that we know of her, and then she killed herself after that, so she couldn't be killed. But this is the only story that we know of her. We don't know anything else about her. So a lot of archaeologists and Egyptologists believe that she wasn't even real, that Herodotus just made her up to make a fancy story. Okay, Sobek Nefru, or Nefru Sobek. She is pretty awesome. She is a legitimate female king. Her great-great-grandfather was not even a pharaoh anyway, or a king anyway. He was the vizier to the kings, the late kings of the 11th dynasty. And then we're not exactly sure how he became the king. He just kind of took it. And then after him, his son was a warlord, and he expanded the borders of Egypt further than they had ever been. So during his reign, Egypt was the richest it had ever been. So whenever her father took the throne, everything was great. But he ruled for 45 years, which at that time was not something that the pharaoh or the king did. It was not good for the country for them to live that long. So by the time that he died, and her brother, Amenemhet the third, or the fourth, sorry, by the time he succeeded, the country was fallen. So he was the king for 9 years before he died, but there was no heir whatsoever. He didn't have any children at all, not from her, not from any of the women in the harem, nobody. He had no children at all. So because there was no heir to take the throne, she was legitimately, as the daughter of the king, she could be the divine, so the divine king. So in ancient times, they believed that the king, once he took the throne, he was the personification of the god Horus. And upon his death, he was the personification of the god Osiris. So Osiris was, in mythological times, he was the first Egyptian king. His mother, Nut, she was the sky, and his father, Geb, was the earth. So he was their first child, so he became the king of Egypt. And during his reign, everything was great. Everybody prospered, everybody was treated equally. And his younger brother, Seth, didn't like this. His younger brother was the god of chaos and destruction, so he didn't like that everybody was getting along. So he came up with a plan to get rid of Osiris. His plan, there's a couple of different stories of what happened, but the most popular one is that he had an elaborate coffin made specifically for Osiris. And he had all of their family over there. And he said, if whoever fits inside of this coffin, they can have it. Everybody tried. They laid in it. They were too fat. They were too tall. Whatever. Nobody fit. Except when Osiris got in, he fit perfectly. So when he got in, Seth slammed the door shut and threw it in the Nile.
By the way, coffin that's like 3 tons.
Yes.
You can't get out of it.
So he threw it into the Nile, where it flowed up the river, to where it settled in a place called Byblos, where it was entangled in the roots of a tamarisk tree, where the tree grew around the coffin, and he was entombed inside of the tree. Now, after her husband was killed, the goddess Isis, or Isis as they say now, but that's not really appropriate anymore. So Isis is the Arabic version. She was devastated by the death of her husband. So she disguised herself as an old lady and traveled to find her husband's body. When she came to the land of Byblos, she met the royal handmaidens. And so they invited her in to meet the king and the queen, where she became a nursemaid for their 2 young sons. Well, she became very fond of the younger one and tried to make him immortal by leaving him in fire. And when the queen saw this, she freaked out. And so she revealed who she was. And the queen, again, was horrified that she had just disrespected the goddess. So they offered her anything that she wanted. And she said she wanted that tamarisk tree. So she took the tree and she took him out. He's obviously dead, but she took him out. And there's 2 different versions of what happened after that. She either left him there to go find the herbs and things to make a potion to bring it back to life, or she turned into a bird and she flapped her wings and breathed the life back into him. So Osiris came back to life for just long enough for her to get pregnant. And then he died again. And so then she left him there again to go raise her son, Horus. And so then Seth found his body, cut him up, and threw him in the Nile again. And so, yeah. He's having a kid. Anyways, so once Horus grew up, they went on a journey trying to find all of the pieces of him. They finally found all of them, except for his penis that was eaten by a fish. So they went to his son, Anubis, who is the god of mummification, and had him mummified, making him whole once again, so that he could go to the underworld. Because at that time they believed if you didn't have a physical body, you couldn't go to the underworld. So if you were mutilated in some kind of way, then you're not going to the underworld, you're not going to the afterlife. So he went to the underworld, and he was the ruler. He became the ruler of the underworld. But then, so Horus went back to take the throne of Egypt from Seth. And Seth turned himself into a hippo to try to kill Horus, but before he could kill him, Horus stabbed him with a spear. And before he died, the other gods saved him, and so he was banished from Egypt. So Horus unified Egypt once again and made everything nice and stuff like that. So this is the representation of what the king's life represents. His life represents Horus. He's fighting against chaos and destruction to make Egypt plentiful and great. And then his death represents Osiris, how his whole life, or his death, his travels to the underworld, and so he's the ruler of the underworld. So Neferu, she represented...
May I just interrupt?
Yes.
This mythology about Isis and Osiris, this was actually the constitution of Egypt, ancient Egypt. Like, this what happened, and this how kings should rule, and this like how kings get their own divinity, and like this was the model of how you rule Egypt.
Yes. So Neferu, she personified Horus during her life because she was the daughter of Ra, so she had the divine parentage. Now she was interesting in her rule, in her reign, because she's often depicted as a woman. So like you see a female body, but she has the enemy's crown, the striped cloth that they wore, that was a sign of kingship. She also wore the kilt that you often see the kings wearing. But she wore all of these things over a queen's dress. So she is accepting the male role, but she's also accepting her femininity. So
She was a primitive.
Yes. So she ruled as a true female king, whereas Hatshepsut, she did not. When her husband, Thutmose II, died, she became the regent because her stepson / nephew was not old enough to be the king, so she ruled as regent, and then for some odd reason, we don't know why, she decided that she wanted to be the king, so she became the king. But she wasn't truly the king because she was a co-ruler alongside Thutmose III. But during her reign, she reigned for 15 years. It was great. I mean, it was very peaceful. She developed a building program. She built massive monuments. Her funerary mortuary tomb is massive. It's still around today. She launched a successful sea voyage to the land of Punt, where she brought back all these magnificent things.
It's called.
I have a picture of her tomb on the next slide.
Okay. Oops. I told you I had that.
So this is her tomb. Jisr, sorry. It is still around today, obviously. But she didn't rule as a woman. She's always depicted as a man. So she has all of her statues are the same as all of the kings before her, where they look perfect. Even if they were fat, they look perfect. This is another reason, this is another godly thing, because gods aren't fat and ugly. They're fit and handsome. So they always made themselves look this way. And she did too. The only difference is that she made her waist just a little bit slimmer than a man's to be more feminine. But other than that, she wore a beard, she wore the kilt, everything. So she ruled as a man, but she also accepted the feminine side as well, because she followed in the footsteps of Neferu, and she had all of the names of the kings that proves that she's a king, all of them feminized. So grammatically they were female. So we know for sure that she was a girl. Her mummy was found in a tomb, KG 60, I think. But we didn't know it was her at first. How we found out that it was her, this is her right here. She's beautiful. They found a box with her cartouche on the top, and all that was inside was a tooth. And when they did a CAT scan on this morning, they realized that this tooth fit perfectly. So they know for sure that this is Hatshepsut. Now, when she died, her stepson, Tutmos III, he was her co-ruler the entire time that she was the king. But he began to destroy anything of her likeness, any statues, all of her cartouche, anything that showed her name. Not any of the monuments or anything, just her name. Because he was her co-ruler, he could take credit for all of the things that she had done. So he's trying to erase her from history so that he can take credit for her stuff.
She did great.
Yes.
Really. She made Egypt super rich.
Mm-hmm. So he was trying to make himself the greatest pharaoh or king in the world by taking credit for everything that she's done.
Yeah. That's typical Egyptian.
Yep. Man trying to take credit for a woman's work. Okay, after her, there was quite a long time until there was another female ruler. Her name is Arsinoe II. Now, she was born in Egypt, but she was not Egyptian. She was Macedonian. She was the queen of Macedonia twice. She was the queen of the king, he died, then she married his successor, and he died. And then she moved back to Egypt, where she married Ptolemy II, and she became the queen for the third time of Egypt. When they got married, they became co-rulers. So she wasn't the queen, she was the king as well. So there were two kings. There's a lot of people that believe that she was given these titles after she died, but it's been proven that she was known as the king of Lower Egypt, which would be the north of Egypt. Like
Lower
Alexandria.
Egypt is the north.
Yes, that's backwards. But so the up by the Mediterranean, she was the king of Lower Egypt during her lifetime. She and Ptolemy, this is something that Hisham was talking about earlier, that the later people started disrespecting the Egyptian mythology, and they did as well. They depicted themselves as Isis and Osiris for the Egyptians, but then they also depicted themselves as Zeus and Hera, who are the Greek versions of Osiris and Isis. Now this is a Egyptian type statue of her, but there are Greek versions of this, of her. But anyways, so she was the king of Lower Egypt, so Alexandria, which is on the Mediterranean, was founded by Alexander the Great. And she was responsible for a lot of the building and everything when it comes to the ancient Alexandrian Library and Museum, which has since been destroyed. So finally, Cleopatra. She's the last pharaoh, or king of Egypt ever. She was Greek. She became the co-ruler after her father, Ptolemy XII, was exiled because he couldn't keep control within the Romans. So he was exiled and he was replaced by a woman named Cleopatra. not the same, but a different one. She
Yeah.
died. Like,
All queens named Cleopatra. She's the seventh.
yes, she was the seventh one. Yes. So that he was replaced by Cleopatra. She died like right after she became the king, and she was replaced by a woman named Greece, but she didn't stay for very long either, because Ptolemy the 12th was put back on the throne by the Romans, where Cleopatra the 7th, our Cleopatra, was his co-ruler. Now, after he died, her brother and her husband, they were the same person, Ptolemy the 13th, succeeded him, but her father wanted her to stay as a co-ruler. He didn't want her to be a queen. So he said that they had to be co-rulers. Ptolemy the 13th did not want that. He wanted to be the king by himself. So he started a war between the two, and she fled Egypt for her life, where she met Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was infatuated with her, and she was really great. And everybody says that she was so beautiful, but really she was normal looking. But she was extremely intelligent. She was witty and charming, and you just fell in love with her the first time that you ever talked to her. So a lot of men did. So Julius Caesar helped her get the throne back after they had a child together, their son Caesarion. So she got her throne back, but then Ptolemy the 13th tried to rebel against them, and he died. So he was succeeded by their younger brother, Ptolemy the 14th. Well, at this point, Cleopatra didn't want to share the throne anymore, so she had her brother killed, along with her sister, Arsinoe IV. So there's nobody at all who can challenge her to take the throne. But since she has a son, she cannot be the king on her own. So she elevated herself by becoming a semi-divine mother of the king. So she associated herself with Isis, the goddess of fertility and magic. So in doing this, she was more than just a king. She was the goddess. But then, there was a lot of, after Julius Caesar was killed, then his two lower ranking guys, Octavian and Mark Antony, they began a civil war against each other. And Cleopatra took a side of Mark Antony, who was her lover. They had 3 children together. And Octavian won the war, so they killed themselves. Now her children, on the other hand, she had 4 children. So Caesarion with Julius Caesar would have technically been her successor, because he was the son of Julius Caesar. So he was his legitimate son. So to keep him from getting power in Egypt, Octavian, or Augustus Caesar, had him killed as well. The other 2 children, or the other 3 children, they lived with Mark Antony's wife and widow, and they're not mentioned anymore after this, only the girl. And she was married off to a king in Africa, and then her child was killed as well. So anybody that was related to Cleopatra was killed off, ending all of the dynasty. So there was complete rule by Romans, which would be Augustus Caesar at the time.
Sorry, something happened. Just like the technologies they used to discover the void in the Greek pyramid, we had similar glitch. And system. Alright. Cleopatra was our last one. Alright. So let me continue to the unanswered questions. And oh yeah, just a moment. Let me just Switch. Perfect. And bam. Thank you. So we're not, well, to be clear, let's say male rulers or female rulers, because the idea of kings and queens, they're actually more like English or European concept. Well, that concept was not in ancient Egypt. Well, we have ruler and regardless. It's like police officer. We don't say officeress, actress. So it's job title, ruler. Or king is just a job title, not, Well, Egyptian archaeology and Bible history. Well, why we don't actually find archaeological proofs or so many archaeological proof about the Bible history? Well, 2 reasons, or maybe 3 reasons. First, ancient Egyptians, they believed in resurrection. They believed in their gods, but on the other hand, they don't want to bring other tribes' gods to their own afterlife. So no king would say how bad he was for other people, because they don't want to make other people's gods angry. Like after life, we're gonna face or talk to Sobek, but we talk to Isis, talk to Osiris. We don't want to talk to other tribes' gods. We don't want to get harmed by other gods. So we're not gonna say anything. We're just gonna say everything good. We were great and wonderful, like great kings and wonderful. Everything was perfect. We were powerful to protect our people, but we didn't, harm any other people. It's like political propaganda, and it's really funny when if you can read hieroglyphic, it's written in cheat codes. They tell the king. They actually tell the king what to say in front of God. Read this, read this, read this. This is how you can proceed. And there's something else. Well, the Bible history or the books, holy books themselves, they are sources of history. So they're considered this thing really happened in Egypt. It's like reading Hittites archaeology, reading other people's archaeology. So what happened in the point of view of other people around Egypt. Well, the sad part, the fall of ancient Egypt and what happened. Well, you heard me say ancient Egyptian civilization, but the correct word is Bronze Age civilization. It's just like when we say now United States civilization. Actually, we say West civilization. So it's the West. So at that time, it was the Bronze Age. Egypt was not the only civilized country or state at that time. So what happened actually is quite that, there's another theory, no certain answer. There's a theory that earthquakes happened all in Mediterranean and Middle East, so everything collapsed. The other theory is that sea people. Nobody knows who were there. They came from what area. But according to Ramses III temple, he wrote that he could defeat the sea people, and he was the only king in Bronze Age that could defeat the sea people. Sea people, they invaded and conquered Hittites, Canaanites, all these kingdoms in Middle East, and they destroyed them all. But Ramses III said he was the only king that could really defeat the sea people. But what? Egypt before Ramses III is not Egypt after Ramses. This was the time when everything like collapsing. Everything so fast. This is what happened when you when you have allies around you, strong countries and kings, and you don't support them when they get in trouble. But because we used to have in that time in Egypt trade routes, they support each other, they fight with each other, and now like everybody should fight their own war. So Egypt was like left alone at that time. So it was the time when everything was like going down, and then Persians, Assyrians, everybody was conquering Egypt, and everybody was trying to hit one of the three pillars: the divinity of the king, their belief, and reverence. Like, they tried to adopt first the Egyptian beliefs, like Alexander the Great was son of Amun-Ra, but later they bring their own, gods and beliefs from Greek to Egypt. The Persians, and they killed the holy bull, Abyss. They killed it in front of people. Like, if you think this bull is like, it's bull teeth, that's holy, okay. They killed it in front of everybody. Like, destroying one of the pillars of ancient Egypt. And gradually, everything collapsed, and Egypt turned, to be like treasury of Roman Empire, no more than this. And this was like and actually the last native ruler of Egypt named Nectanebo II. And there's a funny story about him that he escaped from fighting the Persians, and it's like one of the theories that he traveled or moved to Macedonia, and he was like Egyptian magician, and he married, or should I say slept with, Alexander the Great's mother. So when Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, nobody was fighting him, because he told the Egyptian people that I am the son of Nectanebo II. I'm divine. So he was welcomed in Egypt like no war. Have you ever heard about any battle for Alexander the Great in Egypt? He just took it as Egyptian king. Yeah, but that's what happened, and that's how things actually ended in Egypt, with another mystery and theories about what really happened. Thank you.